Dylan! Oh. Alright, muting the mic again. Goodbye. Except I'll mute it on. Hello. Testing. If anybody's there, you can tell us if you can hear us or not. Dylan, if you're still there. Yeah, thanks for the cat dance. Yep. Can you hear us?
That's so funny. You should say that, Dylan.
How is?
You don't know why yet, though.
Yeah. Oh. How is it's echoey?
We're in a big room.
Yeah, we're in a pretty big room, so we're gonna have to deal with the echoiness. And how is the music to voice ratio? How's the music? Is it too loud? Should we turn down the music? I would hate to do. It's okay, or you're saying okay to the echoes.
It's very reassuring. Oh, hey, Brian.
What does that mean? It's fine because of echo. Okay.
Is the echo that bad? Cause like, I guess I'm just used to it now.
Yeah, I mean, like if you hear us like 3 times, I guess that'll just help you understand us better.
Alcebads,
what up? Okay,
crispy.
music is probably too loud.
Thank you for giving us like a legitimate answer, Alcebads.
Yeah, for real. How you doing, Alcebads?
Also, Timmy, you're gonna love Jackbox 9. It's really fun.
Oh yeah, if anybody,
thank you so much.
Yeah, if anybody's interested, we're gonna maybe try and do some Jackbox 9 after the podcast. The podcast lasts anywhere between an hour and a half to 2 hours. I think that's plenty of time to talk about horror games, like and stuff like that, and then maybe we can do Jackbox 9.
Wait, it's not gonna be 5 hours?
I mean, if we're really jamming, we can. Right? This is all experimental. I stress it. It's meant for the audio, and the other is black. Okay. Cool. Well, we're gonna deal with what we got right now.
Yeah, I mean we're already set up. So.
Yeah. I mean, I could grab all my acoustic foam from the garage and like lay it all over the floor or some shit, but I don't even think it will.
We have to like lay blankets all over the room.
Yeah, exactly. All right, everybody, let's change the scene over. All right, 3, 2, 1. Check it out! I'm not even there. Whoa! Look, I'm not even there. Okay,
How are you guys?
Yeah, welcome everybody to the first ever Saturday gaming podcast. First topic.
This can't be. There is no Bowser stealing Princess Peach way in heck that John Nebula is doing his very first podcast today. I refuse to believe it. Also, I refuse to believe it's been almost 3.5 years and play the games.
Is that PT? Yes, that is Silent Hill
Thank
PT.
you, Timmy.
Yeah, thank you so much for 29 months of support. Appreciate it, Timmy. Anyway, so back to what I was saying. That is PT there. The first topic for our first podcast is going to be, I need to remember the camera's over here.
Should you introduce your couch?
That's what I'm going to do.
Okay.
Yep. So sitting here with me, I have Nerdistbeach, of course. You guys all know Nerdistbeach. You've seen her before. And Rodrigo on my left. He's from the game design program. Yep. We met him in the game design program. He's super cool, super chill, and probably one of the best designers I've ever seen for games.
Thank you, man.
Yep. So I figured this was a good cast for guests, so to speak about what everybody knows and loves for October, which is horror games, right? That's why we're all here, right? Yeah, horror games. We've played them before, maybe. You have chicken nuggies? Awesome. Sit down, relax, chicken nuggies. We're just gonna shoot the shit and talk about horror games, pretty much. Wait a minute, Mara is a cat? Yes, she is.
I was worried you wouldn't be able to see them because the light kind of like blends them into the white background, but I am a cat.
Yep. She's a cat. Yep.
Yeah.
Also, I apologize once again for this janky setup. I think we'll, if this podcast is fun, let me know at the end. I'll ask you guys again, like, hey, was that fun? And we'll totally do it again.
Was it fun?
Different topic. Yeah, point a gun at him. Yeah, was it fun, you guys?
It was fun, right? You had fun.
Yeah, point you at gunpoint. Yep. And I know podcasts normally don't even have video or anything like that, so if you want the true experience, shut off your video right now or something like that. Just minimize the game, like whatever. I don't care. Yeah.
Oh, thank you, Emily.
Okay, oh, wait. Got the correction on free Switch. Oh shit.
Amnesia
collection. Okay, that is amazing. Amnesia is so good.
For free?
For free on the Switch? That's amazing. And yeah, her pants leggings are really cool. All right, but shall we, I guess, begin by focusing our topic back on horror games? So, we have a bit of questions that I kind of like haphazardly like wrote up and like like I'd say like 30 minutes maybe. I just tried to come up with like as many
They're pretty
topics.
good though. They're very thorough.
They're pretty decent. So if we ever get like sidetracked, somebody be like, "Hey, get back on task," and then we'll like go down the list of questions. So I guess we'll just start off. First question is, and chat can feel free to participate in this too. You guys can feel free to say stuff. You know what? I'm gonna do something really quick. I'm gonna pop out the chat and just make it bigger. This is what we're gonna do, so that we can all see it.
Oh, thank you. I
Wait.
my phone.
Yeah. Okay. Because it's really hard to see. We can only see a tiny bit. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Better.
That's
Better.
better.
Yeah, because we don't need to see ourselves, so I'm just gonna cover us up.
Probably gonna be easier.
Yeah, exactly. So, okay. There we go. That'll be way easier. Okay. But anyway, what I was saying is chat can feel free to participate too and answer these questions just to like promote discussion and stuff like that. Okay. Cool. So let's get started. First question, what was the first horror game you've ever experienced? Or your first one in recent memory that you've experienced? And I guess what we can do is should we go down a line and talk about it or what?
Yeah.
Maybe we'll try to have some semblance of organization at the beginning before it all comes crumbling down. Maybe we'll just go left to right.
Okay.
Rodrigo, first horror game
first.
you've ever experienced.
So, for me, this is a tricky one because I remember like the first, I guess, real horror game I ever experienced was either Resident Evil 3 or Silent Hill 2, which are both amazing games.
Yeah.
Have you ever played Silent Hill 2?
I have, yeah.
It's so good. I'm so happy they're gonna make a remake of it.
Yeah, we all saw the remake trailer and everything like that. I think that's a good topic.
We saw the dog also.
Yep, the dog. Everybody knows the dog. Yep. And we got somebody seconding Resident Evil right there. Dylan, first game that you remember was Resident Evil 1, which is excellent.
Man, are we all gonna be Resident Evil for first one?
Maybe that was everybody's
thing,
gateway. But let me see. It's really...
Wait, I did want to say, because those were, I guess, my first horror games, but I remember, like, playing Zelda Ocarina of Time on the Nintendo 64 and being scared. I was young. Some of those dungeons are creepy, super dark.
Yeah.
I remember, like, I guess that was really the first time I felt the horror in games.
Right.
But yeah, like actual horror game, I will have to say, I don't remember which one was the first one, but Resident Evil 3 or Silent Hill 2.
How old were you for playing those?
I was young. Let me think. This is PS1. I just turned 30, by the way. So this was, I think I was like maybe.
Wait, you just turned... That's right. Yeah,
like yesterday?
Yeah, holy shit.
Everybody say happy birthday to Rodrigo.
Happy birthday to Rodrigo if anybody's still there.
Thank
Yep.
They're still there.
Yeah. Emily, thank you for the lurk.
Thank you.
Yep. But what was I gonna say? I'm actually unusual, I think, because everybody's saying they like experienced Resident Evil first, and Resident Evil is like one of my favorite franchises now. However, I did not play Resident Evil until Resident Evil 4. Which came out on the GameCube. That was my first exposure to the Resident Evil series, and it unfortunately cannot take up a slot in as my first horror game. So because of that, thank you for the happy birthday, Elspeth, to Rodrigo.
Thank you.
Let's go. Got Tales of Aspire and it gave me Code Vein vibes. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I love Code Vein. Also, I guess our autoplay is betraying us and not playing horror videos.
I love PT, but it's kind of short to be like
running
in the background.
Yeah, so if you literally just click back, I know it's like slightly out of there. We can end back again. I just have like a list. Yeah. I think I just typed in.
That's just your history.
Or we could just type it in. Yeah. So just like no commentary horror games. But Resident Evil 4 was my first Resident Evil game. So I think the game that would take the spot as my first horror game is either Fatal Frame, the first one, or Silent Hill 2. But I really think I played Fatal Frame first. I think Fatal Frame might have been my first horror game. which I feel like is like a lesser known like cult classic and stuff like that. But that game scared the shit out of me. It did. And to this day, I have not finished a single Fatal Frame game, to my shame. And that's why Nerdistbeach and we started that we started playing the first Fatal Frame, and we were like, oh yeah, maybe we could chug through and like co-op it together, and that'll give us more incentive to actually finish it. Yeah, we did it one time so far. We got pretty far, I'd say. And we got pretty far. But Fatal Frame is, if you guys don't know, it's a ghost game where, was it not playing or something?
Maybe it's a stream and you need to skip forward.
Yeah, we can skip forward.
Yeah.
Fatal Frame is like a ghost hunting game. You're like, oh my god, what the hell is
perfect.
this? Man, I kind of want to know what this is.
Outlast?
This is Outlast? Outlast Trials. Oh yeah, there was a gameplay like video for that like yesterday or a few days ago. But it's a ghost game. You have to exercise ghosts in a haunted house, like taking pictures of them and stuff like that. And I love it. If you guys haven't played it, you guys should totally try it. It is definitely hard. Yeah, the ghosts are no joke. And the concept, it kind of had like that typical fixed camera angle that you have. Hertz! What up, Hertz? How you doing? Welcome to our first podcast. We're talking about horror games in our first horror game experience. So if you'd like, go ahead and contribute what your first horror game experience is, and we can talk about it if you'd like. But I was just talking about Fatal Frame, and I feel like I'm talking about it way too much. So I can continue.
Good.
So
You
we're gonna.
you were gonna talk about like the unique mechanics.
Oh yeah, I was gonna talk about how it had like that typical like fixed camera angle thing from older horror games, like 90s horror games and stuff like that. And I feel like they were like that for a very long time. But I remember thinking that it was revolutionary at the time that you could go into first-person mode with the camera, which I was like, that's insane. I feel like it's not the first game to do that. By any means, especially for a horror game, but it was new to me at the time, and I was like, this is so cool. And Fatal Frame was probably my gateway drug into horror games in general, and ever since I've just like super loved them. Okay. Oh, go ahead.
Like how old you were for that?
That's a good question. I think, God, I might have been like 10, 11, 12 or something like that. And my sister and I were the ones that always played horror games. In fact, I think I'd have to give my sister credit for getting me into horror games. I was just playing like Spyro and Crash Bandicoot and shit like that, Jak and Daxter and stuff. Like, I don't think I knew horror games existed, but I never really went out of my way to try them. And this was back in the days. Oh, Andy, thank you so much for the sip of water. Oh, that's yours.
That was mine.
Yeah. Yeah, Andy is always here to remind us to drink water, which is great because my throat's already feeling dry.
Andy, what was the first horror game you ever played?
Yep, we are talking about everybody's first horror game experience right now. But my sister is probably the one who takes credit for introducing me to horror games. We always played them together. We'd switch off when we were too scared and shit like that. Like that would happen. Like my sister and I were playing. We'd hand off the controller. I'd be like, I have to close my eyes and stuff like that. In Fatal Frame, there was this one ghost with it was like the broken back ghost. It like floated at you. His back was broken in half, and it was like going at you backwards and all that shit. And I had like the typical Japanese horror thing of like the hair. Like just hair everywhere, because I don't know what it is about Japanese horror. Yeah, they love like the super freaky long hair and shit, which I've actually grown to really like too. It's scary as shit,
It works.
Yeah, oh yeah, it works. It ain't broke. Just do it. But yeah, so I credit my sister for that, and yeah, I've just kind of loved him ever since. I feel like I've talked enough, so you can talk about your first horror game experience too.
Well, it's funny because you guys like both played them so young, and like I didn't play a horror game until like 5 years ago, so I feel kind of lame. But I have like the same thing as you, where like I didn't play like an actual horror game till later. But like I remember my dad getting Half-Life when I was like 6. And to a 6-year-old, that's like scary shit.
Yeah.
It is.
So I don't know, like,
Definitely.
if we're counting that, then Half-Life when I was a kid, but we like didn't really play it. We played it like one time. We're like, this is like way too scary.
Yeah.
So we kind of like put it aside. But I kind of
Think harder hurts.
There is one. And I want to know it.
Yeah.
Like 5 years ago. I could be wrong, but when Resident Evil 7 came out, I had never played a Resident Evil game ever, and John's like, this is my favorite series, come play this with me. I'm like, oh, okay, is it like a shooting game? Because I kind of grew up just playing like
it's a
shooting games. So I was like, okay, walking through this house, and I got like a couple hours in, and I was like walking through the halls, and I just like froze. I just stopped walking, and I just sat there like staring at the screen, and I looked at him, and I was like, I can't move. I can't bring myself to like press the forward button to keep walking. I can't do this.
Yeah.
I think that's by far the scariest Resident Evil.
Yeah, he started me on the
It's
biggest
so
roller
scary.
coaster.
Yeah, well, I was so excited to show it to you. I was like, it is so by far. You're totally right. I think a lot of people agree Resident Evil 7 is the
Yeah.
scariest one.
And to this day, I still haven't finished it, but I
Yeah.
want to. And like, it was so freaking scary, but I love scary things.
Yeah.
So I kind of just gradually started playing other horror games after
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, and I think Resident Evil 7 was a huge turning point to like reboot the series, because before that we had Resident Evil 6, and it was on this trend of just becoming more and more and more action.
Yeah.
And that was, I love Resident Evil 4 to death, but it's Resident Evil 4's fault. Resident Evil 4 introduced more action to the game, and they were like, it sold so well, it must be the action. And I felt like they just kept ramping it up.
So I would say 5 and 6 are not even that scary. Like maybe it has a few sections of the game that you can find scary, but you're right. It's more of like an action game.
It is,
Especially
yeah.
6. Like 6 didn't do too well because they completely deviated from what made them so good.
Yeah. Plus, they were trying to appeal to so many different audiences because they kind of had Leon's story, which was still kind of like the typical like classic Resident Evil feel, where it felt more scary. And then they had like Chris Redfield, who was just like, you know, a fucking tank, like superhero god at that point, you know, just like calling down tactical nukes on zombies and shit, or at least that's what it felt like. And then they had Jake, who was like Wesker's son or whatever. Sorry if this is spoilers. And he was just like, he was just like the Matrix character. He was like the he actually had superpowers. He was like doing backflips and shit, and it just like didn't feel as scary anymore. But anyway, Resident Evil 7 totally like reboot, bringing it back. So I feel like they really delivered hard on the horror aspect, and I felt like 8 Resident Evil Village kind of like took a step back and had a bit more of a mix
I
of the
think
two.
they like reeled it back in 8 because so many people couldn't finish 7 because
Yeah.
it was so
Seven's-
scary.
Yeah, exactly. Also, sorry, Hertz, this is super late, but I just saw that you said you think it was Amnesia: The Dark Descent, which I think is an
Amazing game.
I
Yeah,
played
amazing
that
first horror game.
last year, I
Hate
really
it.
liked it.
hate it.
I love it. So I guess I should say this. Like I don't play too many horror games because I get too scared by them. I cannot play. I tried, and I think that's a good thing. Like if the game's good, I actually cannot play it. You know?
Yeah.
And Amnesia is one of those games that not being able to attack them or in any sort of way really makes you look at something and you just want to run away as fast as you can, never look back, man.
Yeah, so that's actually this might be just a good segue into one of the other topics that I have on here, which is how often do you play horror games? And we kind of all just kind of agreed like we don't play them that often. I think
I never agreed to that.
Well, that's
I
true.
play them quite
Sorry,
often.
Rodrigo said it, so we all agreed. Okay. Nobody. Rodrigo and Hertz are on the same wavelength.
20 games because I didn't want to forget what I've played, and I didn't even include the ones I didn't finish. Like, there's more.
Yeah, but I was kind of thinking about that that topic that I put on here, and I think like I play horror games more often than like the average person, but I admit that it has like its phases, just like a lot of things that I like. Sometimes I'll go through like an anime phase where I'm like, I'm just binging anime way more than I'm used to, and it's still something that I liked, but like sometimes you get burnt out on it and then you come back to it. But whenever I come back to horror games, it almost feels like like I'm like, oh my god, this is like hanging out with an old friend that I haven't hung out with in ages. I like miss them. I forgot that I love this. And in a way, taking that long break before going back to it again, like enhances the experience because you can get like desensitized to horror games. Yeah. Honestly, like if you play a shit ton of them in a row, then you're like, oh, another jump scare, or oh, another like I don't know, atmospheric heavy storytelling game where I'm like, I feel like I'm never really in danger. They're not gonna kill me here. Like I don't know. Like that's a big format of horror games is like more of an atmospheric storytelling experience, and it's like puzzle solving and just like the creepiness of the environment. Well, I think it's showing gameplay for Outlast right now.
It looks really
Outlast
cool.
is kind of guilty of that, but Outlast also one of the scariest games that I've ever played. I think one of the scariest horror games out there is like it's got that heavy atmospheric storytelling, but I think they really actually fear for your life in that game. Like a lot of horror games, like Layers of Fear, you actually feel kind of safe in a way. It's just kind of creepy storytelling.
It's like a walkthrough.
Like
almost.
I guess. Like I guess if you don't play horror games often, you don't know that you are actually safe in many places. Because I would say stepping back from them for a while definitely helps. To then come back and feel scared or everything. Because I remember watching some streams on horror games, and the player like couldn't care less about the monsters. He would just pass around them
walk on dead space.
Oh yeah, honestly, it's like a good strategy in a lot of those games, which I feel like that's a subgenre of horror games, is the survival horror, where like you have to pick and choose your battles and stuff like that. Sometimes the optimal thing to do is just like not play the game, run past everything and stuff like that, and you just nope on out of there, and that's okay. Okay, look at that chat real quick. Honestly, neither do I. Mara is horror. What do you mean? That is true. Mara is basically horror.
Okay.
Horrific.
I was kind of thinking it's interesting because like these guys are both basically game devs. So like you were saying that
you're a game dev too. You were on a game jam. Guilty.
So like I'm like more of a movie person. So like I've seen so many movies, so I kind of like know like how they work. So when I'm watching a horror movie, I'm like, a jump scare incoming in 3, 2, 1, and like I know like what to expect. Whereas like horror games were something new introduced to me. So even though I've played quite a few of them now, I'm still like at the edge of my seat, like super scared because I don't really know what to expect. Whereas like John's like really into games. He's played them forever. He like makes them. He like knows like what's gonna happen and stuff, and I feel like that helps him be less scared. Whereas to me, I'm just like, I don't know what's happening.
That's true.
I don't know what to expect.
That's true. I think it's totally similar to like people who are movie buffs and they're watching a scary movie and they're more interested in like what's going on behind the scenes and how they do the special effects. And like I think that if you're really into game design and like how they do things, you look for that stuff, and instead of like as much being terrified and shitting your pants and stuff, you're like, whoa, I'm so blown away how cool this sequence was and all that stuff. Yeah. But also, Hertz says, have you had the chance to play FNAF Help Wanted yet? Is that the newest one? No, Security Breach is the newest one, right?
Okay, well, we've only ever played the first one.
Yeah, the only FNAF game that I've played is the first one.
It's actually a funny story about that.
Yeah,
too.
and I think I'm gonna give you guys like a hot take, kind of. Okay, Security Breach is the newest one. Okay.
Help Wanted?
Help Wanted is yeah, everybody's agreeing that's the newest one is Security Breach, which is interesting because like this is something that I can appreciate with FNAF. Help Wanted is the VR game. Okay, I have not played that. Man, maybe that's something that we could talk about is
horror VR.
Yeah, VR horror.
I'd like fall over if I played a VR
game. Yeah, I wish I had more preparation for this because I feel like that's maybe a topic unto itself, like just talking about VR horror games.
Yeah,
I don't think the only VR horror game that I've played so far is Phasmophobia, and as like it made it way scarier, but you know what outweighed the scariness and like killed the experience for me is fucking motion sickness. I'm sorry. I felt so motion sick. It was ridiculous. Like, I wanted to play more in VR. I was like, oh man, this is so much more immersive and so scary. But I was just like, I'm gonna just straight up throw up. I'm just gonna puke all over everyone, and that would suck.
But I think VR definitely makes it way more scary. I played a little of Resident Evil 4 VR, which is amazing. But I don't know, like. An hour in, it's like, I can't do this. I'm not having fun anymore. It's just playing, like I'm just scared for my life.
Okay,
scared.
So, but that's the VR main issue, I guess. The motion sickness.
Yeah.
Kind of gets in the way of everything.
Yeah. But do you have issues with that?
So
the motion sickness?
Like sometimes I come back to VR and at first it's like that. I kind of like power through it and then I'm like kind of good. Some games definitely destroy me. Like I have to take off the VR and like, no, this is way too much. I feel like sick for like the next 10 minutes,
God,
you know?
yeah.
But I kind of like, if I keep doing it, I guess I develop this kind of how would you say, like, I don't feel it that bad.
Yeah, you get used to it.
Like a resistance.
It's almost like getting your sea legs. Probably imagine. Yeah, but anyway, I'm glad I'm not alone in that, so that makes me happy.
I think John gets motion sickness, like, not even just from that, but like from other stuff too.
Yeah, I get it more than
rides and
people.
like just like looking at screens more often and stuff.
Yeah, in fact, I might even just get sick more easily than other people. Anyway, this is the tangent that I was talking about. I don't want to get like talking about how John's like is super.
You guys said you had a funny story about the first time you played.
Oh, can I
right?
tell it?
Oh yeah. We can talk
I'll
about
try
it.
to shorten it. Basically, I played FNAF 1 on stream last year, and I think I played it for like 4 or 5 hours. I loved it, and I really didn't think I would. I was like, oh, dumb kids game. But I thought it was super fun. I played it like forever. And I was like, John, I really want to see you play it, because it was like actually kind of hard. I think I got to night like 4 or 5, and then I couldn't get past it. I was like, John, you're better at video games than me. Like, I'll have you try it.
No.
And you'll get past where I was. It'll be awesome. It was so much fun. I thought it was super scary. And then like, it was like last weekend I had to try it.
Yeah, it was last
And
weekend.
you couldn't get past day 2.
Yeah, I couldn't. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
And I
Wait,
was
FNAF
like,
for kids? I guess.
it's a kid's game.
I don't think it started
no.
that way. I don't think it started as a kid's game. Kids just really
Yeah, it has a bad
adopted.
rep. Like I would say it's a good scary game, like a solid horror game.
I thought
like,
it was scary. Have you played it?
Yeah.
Did you think it was scary?
Yeah, absolutely.
thought
I think the animatronic horror mix is super. Like those things are scary as they are, you know.
Yeah.
Plus, making them evil and everything makes it so much worse.
I just think like the suspense of like sitting there knowing something's gonna happen,
Oh, they're
but
laughing
you
at
don't
us.
know when.
They made a FNAF joke we don't get.
Oh, dang it.
But I think piggybacking off of that, I think FNAF, the first one, I think it's a super innovative horror game. I like how it's done with like so little assets and stuff like that. And when I was playing it, I truly felt like probably the most anxiety I've felt in a horror game in a long time. The way the game like gives you anxiety and just like worrying about like micromanaging all this shit and the power going down so fast and they're peeking in the window and I had to close the shutter and then I didn't know when I could open it again and the power's just draining. It made me sweat, it gave me goosebumps, it gave me trauma, and I was like, I hate this game and I never want to play it again.
Almost
Ever
like
again.
working. I feel like the animatronics are like the customers.
Yeah, oh my god. It's almost like you're working.
It's like you're managing different things at work. You're like, oh god, the customers are here now. I wasn't ready.
Yeah. Okay, so Hertz, do you think the fourth one is the scariest one? Can you share with us like maybe a brief description on what the fourth one is, if you get a chance?
And like why you think it's the scariest.
And why you think it's the scariest. And I think we're also talking about VR a little bit, and this is a topic that I don't think I thought to put down, but it totally has a place. What is the place of VR in horror games? Like, is it the future? Like, is it the best experience? Is that maybe the best way to experience a horror game?
I guess I think VR has the
Yes,
the
Dylan.
same issue like for for every game. Like I feel many games benefit from VR. Horror games definitely, because you're actually the person experiencing all of those stuff. Like it's so much scary for me, but
yeah.
If the motion sickness, if those things get in the way, it's just you'll rather play a very high graphics game with like good audio and everything, and just feel not equally scary but very, very scared, you know. So I would say that's the thing, but I mean I would give it time. Obviously, probably VR will get to a point where they find a way to fix that somehow, but I think if they do that, VR horror games would be by far the best one.
Yeah, I think so. That already, I think there's VR horror games that I don't think I'd be saying something outrageous if I said that some of the VR horror games are the best VR games out there. Maybe, possibly, just in terms of like immersion. Oh, summary from Wikipedia. Okay. The game mechanics for 4 are what makes it scary to me. And Dylan, yes, I want you to explain the joke, because I want to laugh too. Summary for Wikipedia is the 4th installment of the Five Nights at Freddy's series. The game takes place in the bedroom of a child. Oh, I have heard of that one. That's you're a baby in a crib or some shit.
Dreaming?
No.
Yeah.
Is it just a sleep paralysis demon?
Yeah, well, I think you're actually just a baby in a crib or something like that. And it's the same deal. There's animatronics like stalking you in the house and shit.
Why are they in your house though?
Why not? I don't know, man.
I need a good reason for this.
Child, not baby. Okay, well, I guess there's a distinction there.
Babies.
All children are babies, and I assume you are all babies. I'm just kidding. Yeah, but yeah, I saw somebody playing that on Twitch, and it did look scary. Also, because you felt more vulnerable as like a baby and stuff like that, and I kind of remembered that there were interesting mechanics where because you had to do everything from your crib, like everything was done from your crib. It was kind of like the first game where you're like in the security room and stuff like that, and there's interactables and stuff like that, but they did the same thing but from a crib, and I don't know. I felt like that did make it scarier, which is something like in horror games, like usually you could argue that the more vulnerable that your character feels and stuff like that, the scarier that it is and stuff like that. Interesting. I should probably play more FNAF. I feel grossly unprepared since I have not enough experience in like a popular horror franchise. Run back and forth between your bed, doors, and closet. Okay, yeah. I think did you do it with your window too? There was like some weird thing where you had to close the blinds on your windows because there was like one that would appear like looking through your window or something like that. Yeah, but okay. I wanted to talk about some other things. Oh, yep. Okay. He's explaining the joke. Yes, Laugh Monkus FNAF, which takes place in Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria. The animatronics are haunted, baby. The souls of children, kids, which were unalived and stuffed into the animatronics. That's why I laughed and said the irony when Laura said
it's
for the kids.
Dylan's just proving my point.
Yeah. Oh, it is Souls of Kids or something like that? Okay, that's interesting because a lot of this story is like told outside the game, right? Am I right on that?
I actually wasn't sure if the story was like canon or if it was just like fan canon, I guess.
Yeah, is this like fan-made stuff or is this like official shit that you can find online and it's like about the game? You could close the doors though. That's a fan game, The Joy of Creation. I thought so. I heard that was a fan game, but I guess I feel like it was adopted as an official entry to the franchise.
Yeah, it's like fan canon now.
Yeah.
So everyone likes it.
Yeah, there is lore. It's all official. All of it, including Willy's Wonderland.
The best entry?
Yeah, the best entry to the series. Do you know about the Willy Wonderland movie?
The Nicolas Cage
movie. It's the Nicolas Cage movie where it's like basically clear.
FNAF.
Yeah, it's clearly super inspired by FNAF.
Okay.
It's Nicolas Cage. working at a place with evil animatronics and stuff like that.
It's actually pretty good. I like it.
It is actually pretty fun. It's really good. But now they're making a new FNAF movie, which, okay, actually, this is a perfect segue because I was looking for another segue to go to another topic I had written down, and that is, how do you feel different going into a horror game versus going into a horror movie? Kind of.
I love movies.
Like what? How does playing a horror game feel different from going to a horror movie? And I opened that question up to everybody. Feel free to like stew on it. I think you have an answer. You did look excited.
I love movies, and like I've kind of just grown up watching things that like I probably shouldn't have been watching at like a young age, and like always watching horror. And I think that's like a big reason that like today I just love horror, kind of anything. And I've gotten to the point, like I said before, where like they almost don't scare me. Really, because I always go into it thinking about like the special effects, the actors, the costumes, blah blah blah. How did they do this scene and the camera work, and like I kind of know like this is where that jump scare is gonna be, and like I just generally don't get scared anymore. But I still enjoy them because I think it's really really fun, and I love like super creepy aesthetics and like creepy visuals. But then John got me into horror games, and I feel like it's a whole nother ballpark because I like don't know like the game dev aspect, I guess. Like I don't know how it's made, so I'm like not really thinking about that. I'm sure like when I play games with John, he's like, wow, look at the models, and I'm like
no, I still do that. Remember the baby from Resident Evil Village? That
was really scary.
Hey, I was like, it looks amazing, but I don't even want to look at it. I was like, what the fuck
and
away.
I think just like when you're watching a movie, like you're watching it, but when you're playing the game, you're like in there. And I think that was like one of the biggest things that got me when I was playing Resident Evil 7, because it's in like first person and I'm walking and I'm like, this is me. I am this person. I am in this house. And by God, we had the lights off for some reason. And it just, I don't know, like I feel like it really gets to you to be like, I am in this person's body playing this game. Like I am physically in this situation. I feel like that makes it so much scarier. And it's like your decisions are affecting this.
Yeah.
Your ability to do this will get you killed.
Because another big thing of Resident Evil 7, again this game, is that they changed to first person camera, which makes it so much more like you're the one looking at the dark corner that you don't really want to look at, you know?
Yeah.
I think that's, I mean, it's like, that's everything, you know, the difference between games and like games that very, very big in the story and a good movie is that you are controlling the game, you are the player, you're like experiencing the game that way. But I would say the way they scare you in horror games, maybe they take like from each other, like they kind of use basically the same stuff, like the jump scares and everything. You could like kind of like I would assume they looked at the scariest movies and like say, oh, what do we like about this? Like how did they make people be so scared about it? Is it the lighting? Is it the music? Is it, you know, all of those things?
Yeah.
But yeah, like the main difference would have to be that you are actually the player, and which I find interesting, because if you think about the like you talked about the fixed camera on that used to be like all horror games had that, mainly because they could control exactly what they were showing you, so you couldn't look past their like smokes and lights, you know. But it was still scary, even though you were like, it was actually way more similar to watching a movie than how modern games are.
Yeah, I feel like that's actually a very interesting point, going from like the fixed camera angles. I think the fear theory, I guess we'll call it that now. The fear theory of older horror games was the lack of control. You felt so like not in control of the situation. You can't even control what you're looking at. The game's like forcing you to look at something you can't look around this corner or something like that. You have no idea what's coming. But I feel like there's been a movement in horror games more recently where it's shifted the exact opposite way. You are in control of your situation. You are in this situation, and it's actually among narratives for any media form. I think that games, and particularly horror games, are really unique in that they come the closest to second-person storytelling, and a lot of things don't really do that. Like you have first person where you're reading something in like a book and they say I, me, stuff like that. And second person, that's how do you do that in a book? It's hard. All the nouns are like you do this, and like
Stuck.
yeah, exactly. Homestuck did that. Yeah. But you like never see that. But games excel at that, and then especially horror games, I think, do that a lot. Even if there's a character like we're talking about, we're bringing up Resident Evil 7 again, or any other
Scary.
yeah, Resident Evil 7.
So good.
Yeah, they have a main character. They have a name. It's Ethan Winters, But like, even though you know that this is another person, you really like inhabit the body of this character, like, and you really just like become them. And I think that's something really interesting that you don't get in movies. They have like movies like that I feel like do that because you become so invested in it, but it's much harder to do in a movie.
Yeah.
They have like weird first-person movies, like I don't know, what was that one called?
Hardcore Henry.
Hardcore Henry, which I felt like
yeah.
was almost like the second-person kind of
Yeah.
thing, maybe, but it still like doesn't achieve that. And then they have games where like I don't know, let's say like something super simple. I remember Bear said that he hates this game the other day. Slender Man.
I love
yeah.
Slender Man.
Yeah, I don't know his reasoning. I don't think he really elaborated on it, but he was like, a game that I hate.
I would
Slender Man.
assume it has to do with like how simple it is.
was like,
It's not
basically
really
don't
like a
do anything.
complex game
Yeah.
anyway. It's
Just wander.
Yeah.
he'll appear at some moment.
Timothy's Wagner cheered X10.
Oh, Timmy.
Timmy, thank you for the 10
Thank
bits.
you, Mara and John, for coercing me onto the Resident Evils and the
Coercing you.
slash. This room looks familiar.
Oh yeah, that's true. You've been here before.
I think
Yeah.
I left
the living
something.
room.
Oh yeah, I still have your jacket. I'm sorry, Timmy. I'll get it back to you this December when you come out.
This December.
This December.
A year later.
That's not that far now. But Timmy, thank you so much for the 10 bits. Appreciate it. And let's see. I think we're behind on some of the comments. I find horror games more scary than films. I can predict the jump scares in movies better than films. Yep.
Yeah.
I'm like Mara kind of when it comes to movies. Okay. Yep. Scary, you mean? And yeah. Okay. Thank you so much, Timmy. Hardcore Henry was interesting. I get that
I
impression.
really
from the
like
movie.
that.
Yeah.
I completely understand the interest.
Yeah. The dot
Very
dot.
different.
Yeah.
Yeah. I haven't seen it. You saw it?
I saw it.
Yeah, okay.
I liked it.
I'm the
Yeah,
only
it's
one
fun.
who hasn't
It's
seen
fun.
it, man. Okay, well, I'm gonna have to fix that at some point. See, movies, unfortunately, is super, like, not my ballpark. If we had, like, a podcast where we were talking about movies, I would be the person that you have just to have a diverse demographic. Like, I'm like the schmuck that never watches movies to get their opinion.
I'm
Yeah,
bringing
yeah,
you
yeah.
into movies. I'm trying to like make him watch a classic horror movie every Halloween.
Yeah, I asked, like, 2 other classmates if they were interested in doing this podcast.
Thank you.
And the shirt. I know, I love this shirt. It's so cool. I don't know if you can see it that well on the camera, but if you complimented it, then you must be able to see it a little bit. But they were like, "Oh yeah, I never play horror games," and I was like, "Dude, well, I kind of want you on the podcast, maybe even more now, because I'm like, it'd be interesting to have an outside perspective for people that don't play them very much, and in talking about why they don't play horror games, because that's an interesting topic in itself. Why people don't."
Too scary.
Yeah, exactly. We were talking about how a lot of people didn't finish Resident Evil 7 because, like, it was too scary for them. And you can have a whole discussion on, does that make it a good horror game or a bad horror game? Because obviously for a horror game, you want it to be scary, but at the same time, you want people to finish it. But, like, there's that word of mouth sort of thing where everybody talks about it like, oh my god, this game was so scary, I couldn't even finish it. I feel like that's good press for the game,
I feel like people don't even want to try it.
Yeah, well, actually, I feel like, I would argue maybe it has the opposite effect. Everybody hears about it, and it's almost like, like the Sprite Challenge or something like that. Oh, it's the new trendy challenge. Can you make it through this horror game? I think that happened with Five Nights at Freddy's, kind of, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, that totally happened with Five Nights at Freddy's, where like it's this hard game, scary, and everybody was like, "Oh, I bet you can't make it through the 5th night," and they're like, "Fuck you, man! I'm gonna go do it right now." And then that's how it exploded. It just goes viral and stuff like that. Also, pretty sure that movie was filmed on a GoPro. I'm pretty sure every video game's filmed on a GoPro too. Every first-person video game, GoPro on their head.
Thinking like to combat what you just said, I feel like it's almost like comparable to Souls games where people are like, "Dude, this game's so hard, so you want to play it?" And people are like, "Well, you're better at games than me, and you think this is hard, so why would I try it?" Like, I'm not even gonna be able to get anywhere with it. So I feel like for people that don't normally play it or like are more scared, and they see like their brave friend that plays horror games often is like, "This game was so scary, I couldn't even finish it. Huey, want to try it?"
Yeah.
They're gonna be like, no, I think I'll pass on that one.
Yeah, but there's also those people out there that are like, "Hell yeah, I'm gonna try this now."
Yeah.
And but that's a very good point. Like, I think you might be right in that most people are like, "Fuck that. You have to control these characters. I'm out."
Also, I'm sorry, I have to go pee. I'll be right back.
Oh yeah, no, that's fine. But so like, and I guess that's an interesting topic too. Are horror games, do they target a small demographic of people? Like, is it because like people want games to be more accessible? This is kind of like what happened with Resident Evil, like 4, 5, 6. I would say those were more accessible games. Everybody out there's played like a third-person shooter and stuff like that. And so maybe that was like part of their line of thinking, like, "Oh, this will get more people involved," and stuff like that. Is that a good way to go? Are horror games, unfortunately, like a smaller niche in the gaming community?
I think they definitely are, because in many ways you can compare them to horror movies too. Like, way more people watch horror movies than play horror games. I agree, but everyone knows like a hardcore horror movie guy, you know, like the new, I don't know, the new like big horror movies out. I'm gonna watch it. So bad, and I'm like, so I think they definitely have to make the decision. I agree. I think for Resident Evil 5 and 6, they probably made that decision to have a broader audience, but But yeah, I mean, people who enjoyed the game because it was scary didn't really like the game that much.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of like the people who think that if it's hard for me to play it, like horror games, they're excellent. That makes them better.
Timmy! Thank you for the 10 bits.
Thank you for the 10 bits.
The first 2 hours
Callisto Protocol.
they are comparing the combat to Dead Space meets Dark Souls, plus the ambience is very Dead Space-esque. It seems to have gotten a good positive reception so far.
Yeah, okay. Actually, this brings up something. We were listening to kind of like a preview from a cosplayer on Callisto Protocol the other day, and she was like having these like opinions about the game, and I'm honestly like, fuck everyone's opinions. I want to get my hands on the game myself. I hate listening to like IGN and stuff like that anymore.
Yeah.
Like I just like, I don't want to hear it. I want my own opinion on this game. And I've said this before, but ever since IGN gave Death Stranding a 6 out of 10, I was like, fuck their opinions. Their opinion is shit to me now. Okay, well that's a whole other I'm going on like a tirade right now.
I was just kind of thinking, like, I'm super not a Souls player, so I really hope that people are just saying that to like make it sound really cool because people like Dark Souls.
Yeah,
like, I just want to have fun and play my game. I don't want to like sit there for like 5 hours and be like, yeah, I just finished the tutorial.
Yeah, and you know, Dark Souls like is like become a genre unto itself recently, and it's like trendy, and all the game journalists use it as like a buzzword. They're like, it's the Souls It's the Dark Souls of blank. It's the Dark Souls of Animal Crossing. I don't know. Like,
Yeah, I was gonna ask, like, what does it actually mean? Does it mean it's a hard game? Does it mean the combat is the same?
Yeah. I think that's what it's become. That's their way of saying, like, it's a hard game, and like all you hardcore gamers out there, come out and play this game. And like, I get that they're using it like that, but it almost becomes like annoying that they say it that way. And also, I hate to say this, but game journalists are usually absolute shit at games. So every single game is gonna feel like the Dark Souls of blank. You know, they're like, oh, this is so hard, and stuff like that. And
Are you guys looking forward to Callisto Protocol?
Super looking forward.
I know you guys like Dead
Really
Space.
excited.
Yeah.
I love Dead Space.
Yeah, super looking forward to
It
Dead
looks
Space.
amazing. It looks so good.
Yeah, it looks really cool, and it's kind of like the missing Dead Space 4 that we never got. And I think you were looking this up before, but they had all this stuff planned for like a Dead Space 4.
They like, we're working on it. Like, I don't know if they were making, but they were like working on the story. They like had a bunch of stuff they were gonna do, and it was like gonna be pretty different from the other ones.
Yeah. You were saying, I think you were.
It was like gonna be open world, and you're gonna like play as what's her face?
Ellie. Yeah, which is very interesting. I was
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, this sounds like super cool. I would have preferred to have this instead of Dead Space 3.
Yeah, I think it got canceled because they were supposed to work on like a Star Wars project, and then the Star Wars project got canceled too.
That
So
sucks,
then they
man.
didn't even make either.
Yeah, and now we're getting the Dead Space remake. Maybe there's hope for like rebooting that franchise and stuff. Maybe they'll remake 2, and then maybe they'll remake 3 and make it
Make it a
good.
completely different game.
Yeah, but I was kind of talking about this. I've said this before, but I'm actually more excited for Callisto Protocol than I am for Dead Space remake because it's a new IP technically, and I think it's like the true spiritual successor to Dead Space that we've all wanted all this time. You know, I'm still excited for Dead Space remake. Don't get me wrong, because they've like changed a bunch of stuff. I've noticed that they're changing enough stuff that I'm like, okay, I'm interested in playing this again. They might go like somewhere else with this. Even though most of the changes so far are like gameplay related, like the new zero gravity mechanic and stuff like that.
That's like the main thing
The
I wanted
updated
for, because speaking about like motion sickness, the zero grav in 1 that just hurt my head so much. I would like always get a headache and want to barf. So I think I'll rebuy it just for that.
Yeah, Rodrigo and I were talking about that during lunch or something before. But yeah, I'm excited for that. Isaac talks in the new remake, so they're bringing in new narrative elements and stuff like that. Dylan, why are you pointing a gun at us? You know, do it right back.
We're having fun still, right?
Or is that pointed at Dylan? Or at Dylan? At Timmy?
He's pointing at Dylan's pointing it at Dylan.
I love that emote.
Thank you.
That's Nerdistbeach's
I drew
emote.
that.
She drew that. It's super cute.
I recognize that art style.
That's embarrassing.
Yeah, Nerdistbeach's emotes are so much better than mine. I just like threw some shit into Photoshop
I
and
feel
stuff
like
like that.
we use yours more.
No, I feel like we used yours more. But yeah, I need to go back and like revamp those and stuff. But okay, we talked
I
about.
wanted to ask you about, because you guys play way more horror games than I do, so you are obviously used to them. You're to an extent numb to like the lower horror games, like the not that scary horror games.
Maybe.
Yeah. Do you think like when you approach Dead Space, do you approach it like this is a horror game or this is just a fun action game with, you know, I love the horror in it, but it's not like a scary game? You know, like what I mean?
I think Dead Space was one of the first horror games that he had me play, so 100% just flat out terrifying. But now I've played the second one twice, and like the last time I played it was on stream, and I was like, woohoo, this is so much fun!
Alcibaz brings up an interesting
Oh,
point.
yeah, we were talking
Callisto
about that
Protocol looks
earlier.
amazing. Banned in Japan. Why is that? You guys know. That's
It's
funny.
yeah, I was literally looking that up before the stream, and I guess Japan wanted them to change stuff in the game to give them a rating to release it there, but they refused, so that's why it's not being released, and they were like, that's gonna change the game too much and like compromise the experience we were trying to give people, the experience people were expecting to have from it.
Yeah,
It
exactly.
actually excites me because like Japan is a huge audience and they're just saying, you know what,
Yeah.
it's not worth it. Like our game has to be this like
Yeah, but
graphic and all that.
if I'm not mistaken, I think that's an interesting topic. The ratio of like where in the world horror games are made. Like I think I could be completely wrong in this, but are horror games predominantly an American genre? Is that dominated by the American?
I would say maybe
developers?
today, because I know that on the early days of horror games, Japan was the king. I mean, they're Resident Evil.
Resident Evil, Silent Hill.
Yeah, they were by far better than
Fatal Frame.
Yeah, they're super good. I think they're still super good, but I think just the like big AAA studios over here, like they know how to do it too. Like I would say today I enjoy their games more, but you cannot deny like Japan influence in horror games. They're just so good at horror in every sense. Like horror movies, horror games are so good.
Yeah.
I think they're really good at like setting the tone. It's like, sorry, because you mentioned movies. I just feel like a lot of the times American movies rely very heavily on like gore and jump scares, and whereas go watch a Japanese horror film and maybe there wasn't any gore the whole movie or not a single jump scare, but you felt more scared just the aesthetics and the tone and like, oh my gosh, what's gonna happen next?
Yeah. I remember watching the original, not The Ring. Oh my God, the one where they come out of the TV.
That's The Ring.
That is The Ring. Okay, Ringu, original Ringu. But it was interesting because there weren't like jump scares and shit in that movie and stuff like that, and it was just this so much looming dread and existential dread and all this build up, and like I almost felt like it was more of a mystery movie than a horror movie. Timmy, thank you for the 10 bits. Okay, now we gotta wait for it to read. Maybe I should turn off the voice for the podcast.
Guys don't
Okay.
think differently of me.
Sorry, I'm,
only
like, trying to
doing
talk
2
over it.
hours of the Dead
Yeah.
Space 2 so far. It's so much scarier than the first one.
Oh,
I ain't bull love around.
okay.
Also, hello, Angry Scar.
Yeah, hello, Angry Scar 09. Welcome. And I think there's plenty of things to talk about
It was
right
because
now.
of Timmy. It was because of Timmy's comment, right? That was the one for me.
Yeah, well, I was looking at the comment too of just going in order. Would Alien Isolation count as a horror game?
I was
Yeah.
thinking about that game.
Yeah.
Because that game is so good. I think it's an excellent horror game. Excellent.
Yeah.
It's just so scary. Man. It's the
Yeah.
like I guess the same thing like when you encounter like the aliens, the xenomorph, is it xenomorph?
Yep, Xenomorph.
You're just like, okay, what am I doing? Like
You're
you're just hiding under a desk, like hoping it doesn't see you. I think it's so good. I love that game.
Yeah, and okay. There's so many things we can talk about right now. I feel like one of the things that I wrote down as a topic is the importance of surprise in horror games. Like how important is surprise for horror games, and how does that affect the replay value? Do horror games suffer from less replay value? Because I think we can all agree, a horror game is the scariest the first time you play it.
Yeah.
Right?
For sure.
Yeah, and all the surprises that happen within it. And Alien Isolation had like revolutionary like AI technology with the xenomorph itself. It was like the wandering AI that was like really unpredictable.
Yeah, it could be you would just play the game thinking it could be anywhere and it could kill me right now. Like
Yeah, and it really was. You could play the game like a ton of times and you'll encounter the alien for your first time like in a different place. And that's so cool. And I think that one thing in the horror game genre it just really suffers from, and a lot of games handle it in different ways. Definitely replay value.
Yeah.
There's like replay value. Horror games suffer from it. They need to do more and stuff like that.
I would say that like that's where the really really good horror games stand like apart from the rest of them. Is like the actual game is super good too. If you remove the horror, you're playing a very good game. Excellent puzzles usually. Like I guess if they don't have that, there are like let's say this Slender Man. You know, I like that game. It scared me and everything, but it's like the actual game is just basically a walking simulator.
Yeah.
You know? Like,
Like, would you play that again? Maybe, probably not. Honestly, right? No. Yeah, it's like a one and done.
One-time thing.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's interesting because like it's kind of like that for movies sometimes too. And then there's a whole I feel like there could be a lot of discussion on Quantic Dream games and the movie horror game Until Dawn.
Oh, I love that one.
Yeah, Until Dawn is great, and it's the most similar to a movie, I'd say, probably. And okay, and maybe we should also touch on the thing that Timmy said.
Yeah, can we go back to him saying 2 is scarier than 1?
Yeah, he said something that is okay. This is a huge disparity on this topic. He said Dead Space 2 is scarier than Dead Space 1, and I feel like there's definitely strong opinions there. I've like flip-flopped a lot and stuff like that. The Quarry, yes, another good like movie horror game and stuff like that. But Dead Space 1, silent protagonist, in my opinion, made the game a bit scarier because it enhanced the second person aspect of it. I felt like you put yourself more in the shoes of Isaac because he didn't say anything. Kind of like with a Zelda game, kind of like with a Persona game, kind of like with what's another silent protagonist game? Half-Life, lots of things.
Animal Crossing.
Having that silent protagonist is...
Crossing, exactly.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the major differences between 1 and 2. Dead Space 2, arguably more action-centered. It's like, some people say that Dead Space 2 is more of a thriller than a horror game.
I could see that.
I can see that too. It definitely has more thriller aspects. There's so many like adrenaline pumping scenes in that. And they're all terrifying. And at the end of the day, it's really hard for me to say this. But if I had to choose, oh my god, I'm trying to
Life-changing decision.
No, I feel like it is. I'm so torn on it. Part of me wants to say Dead Space 2 is the better one between 1 and 2. But I feel like it's like pulling teeth trying to get me to say that, because like they do so many things great but in different ways. And that is such a tough. I honestly want. You know what? I'm gonna put up a poll. I'm sorry.
Well, is this a poll for which one is better or which one is scarier?
I'm gonna say
like it's different.
I guess
that's different. You know what? I'm gonna put up a poll for which one is scarier.
Okay, well, my opinion's really quick, and I already know it. I think 2 is better. I think it's more polished. I think they just expanded and polished the first game. I think the first one was much scarier because the second one has more action, and you've already played the first. You know more of what to expect. Versus the first one, you're like, what the fuck am I doing?
Yeah, I was thinking that, like, how much of that is just the world.
Yeah, you like kind of know what you're doing and what's going on. In the first one, you have no idea, and I think there's just more of that like ambient walkthrough aspect, I guess, where you're like, oh my god, what's gonna happen? What's gonna jump out at me? And I think the second one, you feel like a little more confident.
Yeah, it's still there. It's definitely still there, like what's gonna happen. But like, because I remember, because Dead Space was huge on their like, no, cut, like in Dead Space, I remember like, no, you don't shoot them in the head now. You cut off their limbs, so that changed immediately. It's a different thing. Like you don't know what you're actually facing. Yeah. So then knowing that, going into the second one, obviously, like okay, I feel a little bit more prepared. You know.
Yeah.
Which I wonder, like Dead Space 1 reboot, how's that gonna be? Because I would say because of the sequel. Because it is a sequel and there's more technology and it's like easier to upgrade, like to make a game better than to make the first one, I guess.
Yeah.
So the reboot should be maybe the best one, right? If you're having that, the horror on the first one is better, but the other one, like as a game, is better.
Yeah.
Maybe
This would be the best of both worlds.
Yeah. You know, you could do one of those things where like you could say that Dead Space 2. I think I'm gonna go forward and say I think my opinion is Dead Space 2. I'm sorry if I'm swaying the poll by saying that. Don't.
I'm better or scarier? Because you were like.
No, sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
Be
We wanna know.
specific.
Yeah.
I need to be more specific. I'm gonna say scarier. I'm gonna say Dead Space 2 is scarier.
2?
But
Also.
2, yeah, but like.
Interesting.
It has to pay adage to like the game that came before it. It like paved the way and like they really got like a lot of things down. Like they still managed to surprise you in Dead Space 2. For example, not a single monster shows up in the first game in an elevator.
Oh my god, the elevator really got me.
Yeah, but in
So
Dead
it's like,
Space
this
2,
is my safe space.
in Dead Space 2, they have a fucking xenomorph. They have a fucking necromorph come out in an
You're
elevator.
like spoiling it for Timmy.
Oh shit, sorry.
Now he's
My
gonna be
bad.
afraid of every elevator.
Every elevator. You watch your ass, Timmy. And then the new safe space in Dead Space 2 was in the vents.
Yeah.
Yeah, nothing ever attacks you with the vents. But who knows? Maybe they're gonna remake it. Maybe they're gonna change that shit. In Dead Space Remake, they might even put enemies in new places where they weren't before. Who knows? Because I bet they will. Because they know that.
Because they
know
will
it.
let players like know where everything is.
Yeah, yeah. They're faster. There's a lot of hard quick time events and stuff like that. Rodrigo, thank you so much for putting up some different
this
gameplay.
is so good, man.
Yeah, because Alien Isolation definitely deserves some screen time here. So did like a ton of games that we will probably totally not get to showcasing.
Yeah, I'm like
with
looking
footage.
at the time and I'm like, so when's part 2 of this podcast?
Yeah, honestly, I feel like it's crazy that it's been like an hour and 15 minutes, and like I feel like we've actually barely scratched like the surface of this, especially with all the topics that we had listed. Okay, another thing that I wanted to talk about, and I feel like Dead Space 3 comes up in this, is the place of multiplayer in horror games.
Phasmophobia.
Yeah, what is multiplayer good for horror games? Is it bad? Let's just keep the question as simple as that for right now. And I feel like that deserves a poll in itself too. Nobody needs to have much experience in horror games for
Sorry,
that.
I was looking at Emily's comment.
I think Life is Scary. Does that count?
That's multiplayer.
That's the scariest game, man.
That's the scariest multiplayer game. Life itself.
Life, is that a game?
Yeah, you were totally not wrong. Okay, depends on the game. Okay, what if I forced you to say, is multiplayer good or bad? If you had to say yes or no.
I would say it's hard because I would say like Dead by Daylight, the new wave of isometric horror games. I think they're very good, very good, very interesting, very everything. But like, I don't know if they're really like that scary. You know?
Yeah. Okay.
They're a fun game, but I don't know if they're fun because they're scary or they're fun because they're just interesting, you know?
Okay. Oh, okay. Your word choice here, I feel like, brings an interesting topic that I forgot to put in here. What is more important for a horror game? The scariness or the fun?
Ooh, that's hard, dude.
I feel like that's a tough one.
Very tough one.
Yeah. And I feel like that you could talk about that all day.
Yeah.
Like, probably.
Like, I feel like it depends on what you're trying to make, though.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I guess the big answer is it depends.
Yeah, kind of like the multiplayer thing too. But like, can we all agree when we say that franchises that started single player and then later went multiplayer, bad decision?
Yeah, usually fail. I can't even think about a franchise that didn't fail.
Who tied? You know what? Actually, that's an acceptable answer.
Well,
yeah,
that's fine because I voted for Dead Space 1. What was your vote, Rodrigo?
Yeah.
I would say Dead Space 1 too.
Yeah.
I think it's a lot of like how big it was to play, you know? Like it's hard for me to be objective and judging the game equally because I remember just being like, wow, you know, like this is new.
Yeah,
Like,
I feel like that too.
All right, so I'm putting another poll here because I thought this was a really good question. What is more important for a horror game? Here or fun? I'm gonna start another one because I'm really interested in seeing what you're gonna tie on it. As our
Well, like if
because Dylan's here.
If the three of us had voted 2, then we would have also tied it, and then Rodrigo would have been the tiebreaker.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I think Rodrigo's in the chat, so he can be our official tiebreaker.
Oh yeah, I have
Yeah, he could vote too. We could actually just all vote.
Well, this isn't
Except
fair
me.
though, because I'm a sleep paralysis demon, so I feel obligated to vote for scariness.
Okay.
But I think, okay, here's my argument. I think scariness is fun.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
That's
to
fair.
me, it's the same thing.
But not for everyone, probably, right? That goes down to like the niche demographic kind of thing, where like the people who find scariness fun, are they the niche assholes? Sorry, I should have
Are you
said
calling me a niche ass?
that. No, I'm calling me a niche asshole too. 'Cause-
Sorry, oh my god, it's like coming up my nose.
so sorry.
Sorry, go ahead.
You're not.
I don't even
But
know what
I
I'm trying
would,
to say.
like, my argument with that is it like if a game is not good, like it's a game is not fun at all, but it's very scary, like it's worth playing,
I'm
like
not gonna play it.
Yeah.
like it's a like
Yep.
that's I guess that's why it's like it's such a it depends, because
Yep. Yep.
I mean, because I also think like my quick answer is I think the scariness it's more important, but you cannot like forget about the fun,
Yeah.
You still have to think about that aspect.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm just curious also, like, for people in chat, am I being a niche asshole, or like, is scariness fun? Because like, I legitimately think it's like fun. Like, when I go watch a horror movie, like, oh man, this is gonna be so much fun to like have the feeling of fear.
Yeah. Yeah,
Right?
it's like exhilarating. It triggers like adrenaline and stuff, and it feels good. It's weird. Like people like feeling the fight or flight response. They do, especially like like modern day. Like nobody has to fear for their lives, thank God. Like or at least most people, like every given moment of a day. So that's why people actually seek it out. That's why horror movies has like a following. That's why horror games has a following. People like want to feel different than they do like day to day, and I feel like oh my god, we're going into like psychology and stuff.
Sorry.
I feel like no, that's
like,
great.
Interested in fear, so I feel like I'm like veering us all.
Yeah. And Dylan says something. He said couldn't get into the first. I think that's in reference to Dead Space 1. And I asked the question: is that because the game's dated now, or is it because of something else? I'd actually, if you can put it into words, maybe why you didn't get into the first, I'd actually just be really interested in
Oh wait, let me just say hi, nice to meet you to Timothy. That's
Oh, who?
Oh yeah, to Timmy.
Yeah.
He was saying.
Timmy?
hi to
Oh,
Rodrigo.
yeah.
I see
Timmy.
you too.
Yeah, this is Rodrigo. He's from the game design program. He's an excellent designer, an excellent programmer,
Thank you.
excellent artist, and
Thank
stuff like that. He's just good
No,
at everything. Yeah, and he's humble too.
Okay, back to
Yeah, sorry.
Let's keep talking about how cool Rodrigo is for a little bit.
Yeah, no, I'm down. Emily says, I voted for fun because I like when you have fun with games in general. I agree. Most people play games to have fun. I agree. Like, in general. I think...
Yeah, this is like a loaded question because I feel like for me fun is really important in
Yeah.
games because I think I'm more of like I don't know, I'm like somewhere in between you guys and casual
I think
player,
no,
but,
because
like,
I think what
John-
you mean. I think the comparison with the horror movies very good with this because it's like you're having fun when you're
Yeah.
feeling that like
That-
scariness of the game. It's
Yeah.
so it's like you're kind of saying telling the same thing. If you're playing a horror game and you're like super scared, for you that's fun. So you're
Yeah.
basically doing both stuff.
like going through a haunted house. Like you wouldn't just do it to be scared, right?
Uh-huh,
You're doing this, it's fun.
Yeah, I agree.
Like, can you even make like a horror game that's
Almost
very
scary.
scary but not fun? Like, that's the
Yeah.
thing.
Okay. I understand that. Maybe not the best phrased question, but I felt like we had to think about it
But
a little bit though,
like,
right?
I do get, I know what were like trying to ask. Like, when I said like how the really good horror games stand apart from the rest of the other ones is because if you remove the feeling of horror,
It's
the
still a
game
fun
is
game.
still pretty good. That's why I
Yeah.
guess that was what you meant. Like, is the game good on its own, like without the horror
Yeah.
aspect, or not?
Yeah, okay. Actually, this is a good point. Okay. fun is probably what brings the replay value into a horror game, right? You know, we're talking about how they suffer from it. If a game's not fun, you're not going to feel inclined to go back and play it.
Yeah,
And stuff like that. Like with the Slender Man example. I think it's fun the first time because of the fear and the surprise and all that stuff. But after, it's just like, not so
like,
much.
am I really going to walk through the forest to, like,
Yeah.
wander for 10 years again? Oh.
Yeah, and Emily, I think you'd make a good game dev for your answer to that. So fun won the poll, which I think we're all right in that. That fun is definitely more important than scariness, and you have to think of that before the scariness factor. And Alcibad says, I think many feel like Nerdistbeach where being frightened is exciting and enjoyable. Not me, but I'm a wimp. I think that maybe that might reinforce the you know, people who like feeling scared or the niche assholes and stuff like that. But it's not like they're alone or anything. They're out there. People, this content wouldn't exist if there was nobody to enjoy it. I suppose. And it's your hat. Emily likes your hat.
Yeah,
What's on your hat?
It's a bulldog, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'll
that's cool.
plug it in.
Yeah, put it in the camera. Yeah.
Okay, also, but speaking of fun, I was just gonna say, I feel like John plays a lot of games just because they're hard and not because they're fun.
Yeah, I would say it's...
I think that's a niche.
It's kind of the
That's
same
true.
thing. Like for you, that's fun. You know.
That is true. That is true. It is the exact same thing. I do think playing a hard game is fun.
Yeah, but like to me, who I guess like is more casual, like that's not fun.
Yeah. In my defense, I don't always like playing a hard game over an easier game. I do have moments where I'm like, oh my god, I do not feel like playing Celeste for the billionth time or something like that, and having 500 deaths in one playthrough or something like that. So that's maybe difficulty in games is just like another whole like podcast we could even probably do like a discussion on or something like that. And
it just says a lot about like how different gamers can be. You know, there's a game for everyone.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
But I think that, like, going back to all the horror stuff, like I cannot finish horror games because I always get to this point that I'm not enjoying this. I'm just suffering through the game, you know. I'm not comfortable, like I'm not happy with it. But I know I take that as this is such a good horror game that because at the end of the day, especially from the game dev side, I want to make the player feel this emotion, you know, this specific emotion. When it's a hard game, when it's a horror game, when it's any kind of game, it's always starts from I want to make the player feel like they're going to like using the example of Alien Isolation. Yeah. The alien could be anywhere. They will die at any moment. They have to do all this puzzle solving. Yeah. With this thing on the back of the head, like, oh my god. Like the stress and all that.
Yep, exactly. I actually have lending credit to that. I have a legendary clip, or at least I feel it's legendary, of when I played Alien Isolation on stream last year, and it's where I was saving the game, like they were doing in this clip just now, and I look, because you can control the camera while you're saving, and the xenomorph just comes around the corner right when I save the game. And I was just like, holy shit, I don't know if you're invincible during this animation or what. I was like, I'm fucked. Am I soft locked? Every time I load this file, is the xenomorph gonna be right fucking there? And I was just, as hilarious and terrifying as that was, I was like, that's awesome. That is awesome that it's just like fucking there, and like there's no way of predicting it, and that is so cool. Okay, we have some comments to catch up on. So I just don't feel immersed by the game. It may just be because I went in expecting a constant scare fest, but I never got scared. I think I'm gonna go and say you're kind of a minority in that, Dylan.
I know.
And not being scared even a single time in Dead Space 1. I'm gonna venture out on a limb and say most people, when they play Dead Space 1 the first time, feel scared, at least at some point. And Alcibaz, I mean, when you could say that thrill-seeking people who enjoy skydiving and bungee jumping are in the same vein as horror game lovers.
I was actually thinking that too when John was like, they like seek the feeling of flight or fight, because I feel like that's more of like a thrill-seeking thing, because it's like, I could die, woo! And I don't know, I feel like it's different, because like if you go watch a horror movie or play a horror game, like you know you're not gonna die.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's makes it more fun because you can like experience it knowing that nothing bad is actually going to happen to you.
Yeah, exactly. Because like that's something that's intrinsic to games in general. Is something that makes a game is that it has no real life repercussions, and that's part of what makes it a game and what makes it fun and stuff like that. Fun factor is important in any game because I like games that make me want to play it over and over.
The replayability.
Yep.
Again.
Absolutely. If a game's not fun, why would you even play it in the first place? And what up, Waluigi? Wah! I didn't get far in the game either because of not being able to be immersed. I think that's supposed to be immersed. Yeah. Okay. Interesting. Okay. Because
I think because you mentioned it's the expectation. Maybe that's it. Like having too much of a high expectation of like, because if I think about Callisto Protocol, I'm thinking like I have a like, oh, I hope this, because the trailers are so like action packed in a way that so many things are happening all the time.
Yeah.
That I'm hoping for that. If I don't see that, I'll probably be a little disappointed.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll lower my expectations at that moment and to like. I guess I can do that to enjoy the game, but if you probably that was like the deal breaker in that aspect.
Yeah. That just makes me think of that's like why they didn't want to change it for Japan. They were like, people are expecting this. We have to give them this now.
Yeah.
Otherwise their expectations are gonna like go down the toilet.
Yep.
Yeah, that's true.
Yep. Interesting. Okay. Oh, we hit the hour 30 mark. Yeah. Going. Also, like Easter eggs from devs, like hints on what went into making said game.
Oh yeah, that's fun.
As well. Oh yeah, totally.
I love that.
Yeah, me too. I love Easter eggs.
Pictures of the game devs in it.
Oh yep. Whenever I see names or like pictures, like portraits in games, I'm like, oh, that's a dev.
Yeah.
Or it's like a Kickstarter backer or something like that. Okay. I think we've hit a lot of the big topics that we were thinking of talking about. We can like go down the list and see if let's see if there's any that we haven't listed yet. I mean, okay, here's a super simple one. What is your favorite horror game? Disregarding scariness, or like including scariness, including fun. Favorite horror game. You have to pick one.
It's hard. Can I pick multiple?
No, one. For the sake of disparity. Only one.
Okay.
So 3.
No. Trilogy, and if it's a trilogy, you can't say the whole trilogy. You have to say one entry.
The entire Resident Evil franchise.
No, you can't mention whole franchises. Yeah. Timmy says Evil Within.
I've seen the beginning of like all of them now, but I've never finished them.
I actually think Evil Within is a great pick. From director Shinji Mikami, I think, who is the director of Resident Evil 4. And there was heavy influence, level design-wise and mechanic-wise and combat-wise, from Resident Evil 4 going into Evil Within. And I think that the first game suffers from some things. It's not the perfect game, but I thought it was scary. I liked the story. I thought it was good. And, that's something else we can talk about. The importance of story in horror games versus other games. Like, is it different than other genres? Is storyline in horror games more important than other genres?
I feel like it is, but maybe I'm being biased because to me, story is always the most important thing, and I think that's just because I love movies and I love writing. But I feel like something that really sticks out to me about horror in general is that I feel like it's always a mystery. There's almost always some kind of like mystery aspect, and I feel like that gets me through it, I guess, or that's like the incentive to keep going, is like to find out the mystery.
I think story helps so much into like get in the game, like to be immersed in the game. Because a big deal about horror is like you have to believe it, right? If you see something like, oh, what is this? It doesn't even make sense. I think like it breaks the whole immersion. I think that's why. Because I agree. I mean, I know other genres like also are huge in story, but I would say horror. It's like you really need a good setting, like that everything inside the game makes sense. So every scary thing that happens really makes sense, you know.
Yeah, like you could argue that like I don't know what horror game I like, honestly. That's okay. Pick a favorite anyway. Immersion is maybe arguably more important in horror games, but like I think any game wants you to feel immersed, but like horror games depend on that more.
Yeah,
they depend on that more. And one part of getting you immersed is the story. So the story, I feel, does need to be well written.
And I would say like a huge part of it, like one of the most important things, I would say, it has to be a story.
Yeah, you can have a fun game with zero story.
Yeah.
Can you have a horror game with zero story? Can you like rip the story out of a horror game and it still is enjoyable? I would say definitely not.
You know, I'm trying to like think about it, and I'm like, Phasmophobia have a story beyond like,
that's true.
we're gonna catch the ghost, or like we're gonna figure out who the ghost is, but like, I feel like it's still just.
Yeah, I think Phasmophobia has its scary elements, but the design vision of the game is mostly rooted in the fun multiplayer part.
Yeah.
And it started out that way, you know? Like, they clearly had the vision, that game in mind, like, fun, goofy scenarios where everybody's dying in the house and stuff, and they're, like, trying to get a ghost to leave fingerprints, and, and the stupid animations.
I think you need the story for the horror game. You need it. It just adds so much. It's the driving force, you know. You want to know what's going on. Usually they have mystery. They have like puzzle solving, and you're like, oh, what is this? What did this guy do? Why did this happen?
Why are they doing this absolutely horrific thing?
I think a good game that kind of makes me think that is Visage. Which Visage is an interesting game because it's like I think it's a smaller studio, or it's an indie game or something like that, and it clearly takes inspiration from Silent Hill PT. And I have quite a few opinions that I can say on that game. I mean, maybe like
like, that's like a whole other thing.
Yeah, one big one in particular, which is, I'm just going to go ahead and say it. I actually think that Visage prioritized the scariness over the fun.
Yeah, I think so too, actually.
And I think it's
like almost too scary.
It suffers from that. And the gameplay is so punishing. And it says that straight up. When you start the game, it has a disclaimer that's like, this game is hard.
Okay.
And
it's the Dark Souls.
Why do you say it's the Dark Souls of Silent Hill PT or something? But the opening sequence of Visage is very interesting and sets up so many questions that you want to know what's happening.
You know, I kind of said this when we were playing this. I could be wrong because we haven't finished it. I could just be being a total asshole. But because of the opening scene, I was like, now I feel like I know everything that's happening. Like, completely took the mystery away. It's like that like told me everything I needed to know, and like I think it's still cool, and there'll still be surprises.
That's such a good one. Doki Doki Literature Club.
Oh,
Rodrigo, are you familiar with Doki Doki Literature Club? No. Okay.
It's free. Go home and play.
It is free. Yeah, you could. Honestly, if I could go back in time and tell you a horror game to like play in preparation for this,
it's really.
I might have been Doki Doki Literature Club. But I'm about to explain what Doki Doki Literature Club is, and like, even though like most people know, but it is a visual novel game that is disguised as like a dating sim. Okay. And you play it, and everything's pretty normal. It really gets you like sucked into like, I'm playing a normal dating sim, you know? But you start to realize some things are wrong, like fourth wall breaks, characters acting strangely and stuff like that. And by the end of the game, you just get this insane whiplash of like, how the fuck did we get here? Why am I suddenly terrified in this normal ass dating game? Yeah, so Rodrigo, I highly recommend you play it.
I have to check it out.
It doesn't even take that long, and it has replay value because it's different. You can play different routes every time. There's like different endings.
Okay.
Yeah, so it has good replay value and stuff like that. Yeah, Doki Doki's really good. Emily, that's a good one. And going back to like the favorite horror game, FNAF, Security Breach. So that's the newest FNAF. Okay. I mean, like, I haven't played that one, but it's just FNAF kind of trying to make their take on like an immersive first-person horror game, right? And like, it was inevitably gonna go there, I think. And it looks like pretty good. It looks like it turned out well. But I don't think any of us got to say our favorite horror game.
Well, it's
Yeah,
like,
'Cause we're still
thinking
thinking
let's
about
go
it.
this way. so
I think, because you eventually have to pick one, okay? So if I have to pick one, I think my favorite one is Silent Hill 2. I love that game. I still remember the first time I played the game and hearing those sirens and being so scared. Like, as soon as I would hear the sirens, like, oh no, everything's gonna go super scary now. No, like, where can I go to be safe? Like, it stuck so hard in my mind. Those sirens, like, they torment me.
Yep. I think that's a pretty good reason. Pyramid Head, of course.
Yeah, it's
Infamous from
so
Silent
many
Hill 2.
good things. For me, it's an excellent game overall. It's so good.
Yeah, I think one thing that really accelerates Silent Hill 2 into such a memorable spot too is the story. Definitely the story. The character of James and like just like diving deep into his like, you're like wondering why he like what is his relation to everything that's happening right now and stuff like that. And it turns out to be like almost like the freaking like we're inside of everyone's minds and like Silent Hill kind of thing. And it's like all this guilt that he's been carrying. I don't want to spoil it for anybody. But I have another question. Did you finish the game?
No.
Okay.
Because it was actually I didn't finish it because I was young and it's a hard game. Those puzzles are getting
Same.
hard.
Yeah, and that's where my confession comes out too. I fucking love Silent Hill 2, and I'll tell anybody that I love Silent Hill 2. Did I finish the game? No. No. You know why? You get lost. You don't know what the fuck
hard.
to do.
It's super hard.
It's the exploration is so heavy in that, and you can spend so much time just exploring and having no idea where to go. And yet, to this day, I think it stands out in so many people's minds as like one of the best horror games, even though I think most people who played it did not finish it. Which is really crazy to think about, right? It's like such an icon, but most people haven't finished it.
That's kind of funny.
Yeah, and I regret to say this, but it's like that with most Silent Hill games. I've played Silent Hill 2, I've played Silent Hill 3, I've played Silent Hill 4, I've watched my sister, I've played a little bit of Silent Hill 5, I watched my sister play Silent Hill 6, which is Downpour, and my sister's actually like amazing. She like actually finishes all the horror games that she plays.
Finishes everything.
Yeah, she finishes every fucking game. Like it doesn't matter if it's like 150 hour like JRPG.
She's played it.
Yeah, she'll do it. Like she does not half-ass it, which I really admire that about her. But like as you get older, you get less time to play games.
My backlog is just disgusting.
Same.
Yeah.
I try not to look at it as much as possible. Like, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Like every gamer's pile of shame is their big backlog of games that they're like, I'm never gonna finish
And
this.
you keep looking at new releases, like, oh, I wonder what I'll play next. And you have all these games.
Yeah, I tried to implement a rule where I was like, I'm not allowed to buy a new game unless I finish one.
How's that going?
It's going terrible.
Yeah, I tried that too, and it's like, who am I kidding?
It's impossible.
It's like, I'll be on sale, and you're like, well, I have to get it now.
Yeah, it takes 3 seconds to buy a new game, and it takes like who knows how many hours to actually finish a game that's on your backlog. So like, it's just not fair.
Yeah.
Too many good things out there.
Okay, your favorite horror game.
Okay, yeah, it's my turn.
Yeah, you're trying to avoid this.
I know. I feel like I'm trying to avoid it. But
I already know yours.
You do?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna say Resident Evil 4.
I would have been
Resident Evil
shocked
4.
if you didn't
It's
say
such
that.
a good game.
I know. I feel like that's kind of a cop. It almost feels like it's a cop out because it was like my first horror game that I played and like really finished, and like I played the shit out of it. I did it had the replay value for me at the time I played it. There was that regenerator enemy. I don't know if you remember like the regenerator or like the things that grow back their limbs and shit. It was on the island sequence of the game. That was some of the scariest shit I've ever seen. The part in the sewer where he like sends his right hand to dispose of you, and he's like, your right hand comes off. Leon, I love the character of Leon. He's so funny. He was so endearing and charming and stuff like that. And people joke and say that the whole entire game was technically escort mission, which is like infamous in video games for being like escort missions are the worst game design thing ever and stuff like that. The Fear trilogy. I've actually played Fear 1 and 2. I've not played the third one, but yeah, that's another good one that was a fusion of action and horror. I had Nerdistbeach try out the first game recently. Yeah.
I liked it.
Yeah, it's got that like gameplay loop of like super duper, but like the body count and bullet count in that game is like insane. It's just like it is an action game. It is super an action game. If I had to classify it in a genre, way more action game than horror. But the horror parts they did were good. Like they were legitimately scary and stuff like that. But yeah.
I mean, going back on Resident Evil 4, I think it's the best Resident Evil game. Like for me, that's the best one. I remember I used to play Resident Evil 3 a lot. I love that game. I love Nemesis. I really love that game. But I remember like many friends. Like I played Resident Evil 4 later than most of my friends, and they would all be like, "This is like the best game ever. This is such a good game," and I'll be like, "But Resident Evil 3, like that's also an excellent game, and Resident Evil 2." But I played it, and I like it. For me, it's just such a good game. Horror or not, like it's horror obviously, but overall, for me it's like you have to put it on like the greatest games ever made. It's such a good game.
I feel like that too.
She is a super brave one with a steel eye and self.
Thank you for the 10 bits, Timmy. Okay, I wanted to say something else about Resident Evil 4. I feel like I could talk a long time about Resident Evil 4. Resident Evil 4 was such a risk, design-wise, for the Resident Evil franchise. Yeah. It was such a risky departure from the formula.
I remember not being interested in the game because it changed the narrative, it changed everything. I remember being like, why did they do this? Like, I love playing as is it
Jill?
Jill? Like, I love all that. Like, oh, and now I'm this guy. Like, what? And but you know,
why should I care about this chump with nice hair?
I keep saying like that's like for me that's the best Resident Evil, you know.
Yeah, and I think it's because the fun was there.
Yeah,
the fun was definitely there in that game. Like in the gameplay, just like you got to make interesting gameplay decisions on like when to run away, when to shoot, like doing the melee attacks and all that stuff. Oh snap! They live or they live? I don't know. Tony, how are you? Yep. Tony, we were just talking about Resident Evil 4. We're doing a horror game podcast, and we were discussing going in a row, and with chat too. Everybody had to say their absolute favorite horror game. Only one.
Only one.
If you could only say one, what is your absolute favorite? So, some of us have been having difficulty deciding, but I had to go with Resident Evil 4. I felt like it was the first horror game that just really got me invested in the genre, personally. And then Timmy says, I finally beat Resident Evil 4, and I honestly have to say it might be one of my favorite Resident Evil next to Village. And you know what's funny? Is Village, in my opinion...
It's basically a remake of 4.
It's basically, what if we made Resident Evil Village with Ethan instead of Leon? That's what it is. And we had like a tall vampire lady in it. You know, like... I thought it was so funny too because they made Resident Evil 8 and now they're making the Resident Evil 4 remake, and I swear to God,
like
they're just reusing assets from Resident Evil Village. They made Resident Evil Village as a cover to make assets for Resident Evil 4 remake or something. I'm just like, it's so funny. Those games are actually so similar. They have the merchant, merchant. We all know and love the merchant. What are you buying? Like they such an iconic character.
Ringing the church bell sort of at the beginning. They like all leave for bingo.
Yeah, even the progression of the game like feels like the Resident Evil 4. It was just like the comparisons so like parallel. Probably the first Dead Space, excellent choice.
Okay, see, that kind of perfectly leads into me because I was gonna say the second Dead Space.
Yep.
Which I feel like is almost a cop-out because we talked about those for so long earlier. Yeah. But like, I don't know, like I grew up playing first-person shooters, so like, it's a shooting game, it's in space, I feel like it's a perfect blend of fun and scary, and I like that he talks in the second one. I just really loved his character, and I loved the story, and I love how they added Elliot, and my biggest fear is pointy things coming towards my eyes.
Yeah,
so
totally doesn't happen in that game.
Oh, wow. And I don't know, and I feel like it just because it's fun and I love the story and I love the characters, it has huge replay value for me. And though I like sort of rare some of gears and stuff are.
Yeah.
And I love the sequences they add where you're like flying through space and stuff and like dodging debris and whatnot.
Yep.
I just think it's really fun.
Yeah, I think Dead Space 2 is a super solid answer.
Yeah,
I think the added like character dynamic of Isaac talking, like it went from like it was an interesting design decision, right? Because in the first game they were going for that second person kind of feel, like this is you, even though he had a name or whatever. And then they were like, you know what? We could probably build a really good like character around him instead, that where he's like his own person, his own identity within
which is
this
very
universe.
rare to see, like going from these characters that it's just you, it doesn't have like a personality or something like that.
Isaac grunts, yeah.
like the half, like Gordon Freeman in Half-Life, like Link and Zelda, like so many other characters. I don't think too many games, I can't even think of another one that goes from that to actually giving this character life.
Yeah, imagine if they suddenly made Link talk in the games, like kind of like the animated show, and like you're supposed to like it, and like it's just gonna feel so wrong. You're like,
and nailed it. That's the thing. That's the thing that I find so good. It's good.
Yeah. I would argue that it was easier for Dead Space to do that because they had only one game in the franchise at that point. Zelda has had like
I don't think you can ever make Link.
Yeah. So that was like a unique opportunity to change something, and it had to be like early into the franchise. So the second game. But Dead Space 2, Dead Space 1, all excellent choices. John, I do have to say that it's a Resident Evil. There was way too much going on in Resident Evil 4. It was too funny. Interesting choice. I do think Resident Evil 4 had funny moments, which was also unique. That was unique to Resident Evil 4.
You know, I actually have to agree with Timmy, maybe because I didn't play 4 as a kid, but when I played it with you, and maybe it's because you were there, but I was like, wow, this is so fun. Leon's so dreamy. He's so attractive. Wow, he has so many funny lines. It never like really felt scary to me.
Yeah.
It just felt like there were scary things that happened, but it was just kind of like fun.
Yeah.
And had funny moments.
Yeah.
But I never really felt scared, and I almost feel like Resident Evil is like Doctor Who, or like whichever Doctor you watch first is your favorite.
Yeah, probably.
Because I played 7
Yeah.
first, and even though I love like all the characters in the older ones more, I still like 7 more because it was the first one I played.
But I think that's
scary.
also like 7 is so scary. It's
Yeah.
so dark. So every other one is like, haha, this is
Ghosts of walking apart compared to that.
Yeah, and you know, I also would argue that Resident Evil put itself into that corner for their franchise because of the storyline. You know, like the Umbrella storyline just like kind of like became more and more convoluted and stuff like that, and it started to become a little silly. You know, it was like it started to become like the monster of the week that that Umbrella made or something like that. And like I remember in Resident Evil 6 we were like doing Neo Umbrella, and I was like, what the fuck, Neo Umbrella? Like, just stop. You know, it would actually be okay if we had a new villain. That would be okay. Like in Resident Evil 7, Umbrella was like mentioned and involved and stuff like that, but like they took a step back and like we're like, okay, we can give Umbrella a rest now and stuff like that. Okay, we definitely have more to read here. John, you'll be so happy to hear that they kept the bingo line in Resident Evil 4 Remake. Great. I'm super happy about that. Honestly, you know what I want for Resident Evil 4 Remake? I want them to not remove a single goddamn thing from that game. That's what I want. It's fucking perfect. Honestly, I think it doesn't even need a remake.
I kind of feel like that.
It doesn't need a remake. I'm just super hyped because it's gonna look pretty.
Yeah.
You know, like that's gonna be cool. And I think that the technology now is gonna bring back the horror that we felt for the first time playing Resident Evil 4 again. You know, at the time, like that was a really good looking game on the GameCube. You know, it looks dated now.
Yeah.
But like now the game's so much darker. They're gonna be able to use so much better technology and stuff like that to just really immerse you into the game again. They better not change Lewis at all. We've seen what he looks like. I don't know if you saw the new trailer, but Lewis looks fantastic. He has, in my opinion, like a stronger accent now.
I don't know. I love how he looks. I think I'm the saddest about Ada's dress.
Yeah, Ada's dress is gone, but maybe she'll like have it as an alternate outfit in the game.
That'd
I
be
feel
cool.
like they will pay adage to the original game. I'm pretty sure the next remake after 4 will be 1. 5, no one wants. Okay, about Resident Evil 1, there's already a Resident Evil 1 remake. Yeah, there's already a remake, so I feel like they will not do that.
It is
We'll also
good.
need Ashley's
It is
ballistics.
good. It is good, but the remake for 2 and 3, especially 2, they're so good.
Yeah. They are great. I think Resident Evil 2 is possibly my new favorite horror game in the Resident Evil franchise, and second to Resident Evil 4.
we can only name one.
No, this is second. This is second to Resident Evil 4. Resident Evil 4 has the nostalgia points that will make it never leave the top spot. But after that, Resident Evil 2, because it's a fucking remake of a game with Leon in it. Yeah, and who can say no to that? Okay, Resident Evil 1 and Resident Evil 5, no one wants to see Sheva remade. I'm actually very curious if they will remake Resident Evil 5 after 4. Part of me thinks no.
Yeah.
I honestly think that. And also, I think there's not enough of a generation gap between when that came out. Like, the game actually still looks pretty decent. It's not, like, would the remake look, like, hands down better? Yes, but it's not going to be, like, that huge graphical leap, you know? So, like, maybe they'll wait a few more generations to do that.
I was kind of just like, maybe they would do it just for the sake of being able to say that there's a remake of all of them. They sell it in a set.
Yeah, maybe they'll, like, sell it in, like, a box set or something like that. And out of the Resident Evils, I think 2's the best, though. Yeah, I fucking love Resident Evil 2. The remake is good. They better not change Lewis. They have slightly changed Lewis. I feel like they didn't really change it that much. We also need Ashley's ballistics. I think Ashley definitely looks different, but the ballistics are probably still there. Lewis looks more like me now.
I feel like he doesn't really look like me.
Yeah, sorry. Timmy, he looks like... Yeah. And then I always like Sheva. I'm sad they haven't put her in anything else. That is true. You know, I actually like Sheva's character. But, like, they do that with a lot of characters in Resident Evil. And Josh, yeah. Like, Sherry, we didn't see Sherry again until Resident Evil 6. Also, another character from Resident Evil 3, Carlos. We never see Carlos again. There was that guy in Code Veronica. We never see him again, but that's because he fucking dies. Krauser, okay, I mean, they have removed the Krauser boss fight and replaced it with Lewis.
Did they say that?
Dylan, don't you mess with me right now. If you tell me they removed Krauser from the game, I will lose my shit, and I'm gonna just go and say that's a baseless rumor, even if it's not, even if that's from an official leak.
That's like Timmy
It was
telling
leaked.
me they
Don't tell me
remade
that. I know.
Naruto.
No. Don't you fucking tell me about leaks right now. I'm disappointed in you. I signed an NDA recently, so I'm disappointed. Okay, if that's true, okay, I do not want them to remove anything from Resident Evil 4. Krauser was such a cool part of that game.
I don't think they will. I think they should know how big that game is for everyone. Like,
I really hope so.
So weird to remove stuff.
I hope that's
Sometimes I wonder
super not true.
they like leak fake things so people don't find the real shit.
Maybe, yeah, that could be an intentional leak. I agree. I think they do that sometimes.
That could be a smart idea, actually.
Yeah, it builds press and stuff like that.
People will like talk
And
about
also,
it.
people maybe will go like, "Oh, I won't try to hack these guys anymore." 'Cause
Yeah,
I know what
now I
they're
like
doing."
found something.
Yeah, we also need Salazar to have an even bigger Napoleon complex. Honestly, if you've seen the new trailer, I feel like he looks even more like Napoleon now. He looks like nasty. He looks like a nasty old little dude now. I like what they've done with his new design. Like, he looked more like a kid before, but now he just looks like a short, ugly man. Sorry. That sounds really mean. The Chains Ghost. I actually don't know what you're talking about. They also added an enemy. Sorry, I missed that. Okay. Oh, man. Okay, I don't want to look at the leaks. I don't want to look at the leaks. I want to be completely surprised. I want to be completely supplied. I want to completely...
Get this man some supplies.
Supplies.
Completely
Yeah.
surprised.
Okay, but yeah, oh my god, there's so much that we could talk about for that. I am so excited for Resident Evil 4 Remake. It's a remake of basically what I basically just admitted was my top favorite horror game of all time. So it's a good year for me for horror games. For anybody else that loves Resident Evil 4 or loves Leon or whatever like that. Super excited. You guys see the knife parry that they added in the newest gameplay?
No, I don't. I
Yeah,
try
so-
not to look. I
Okay,
try to
that's
look
fine.
As
You know-
little as possible.
That's actually probably
That's a
good.
good
But it got me super fucking hyped. Now,
yeah,
now I
I
won't
get
tell
it.
you.
I get it.
Do you mind if I tell you? Because I feel like you'll be super hyped. You want no. I'm not gonna do that
if
to you.
it's too big, then no.
Yeah, but anyway, also we are reaching our cutoff. We have like about a minute left for what we said would be the length of this podcast, hitting 2 hours. So like, I think we've all said our favorite games. Like, what do you guys think? Was this fun? Did this go well?
Was
like,
this fun? Did you
yeah,
have fun?
I'm opening that to chat, even though Tony like just got here.
You had fun?
Yeah, fun.
It's the best 5 minutes of his day.
Yeah. And what plan for this podcast, I was gonna transition us into maybe like playing some games or something together. We could play Jackbox 9, which came out recently. Jackbox 9, super fun. All the games that are like great. I wish there was like a horror multiplayer game that we could like all play together. Maybe there is, but like I don't know. I'm gonna open this up to what do you guys think?
I'm
And
down for
actually,
Jackbox 9.
let's open this up to anybody in chat. Is there anything that was not covered in the podcast today that you want to bring up?
Any
right
questions for the couch?
Yeah, questions
Yeah,
for the
also,
couch. Like anything that you felt like we didn't address and should have been addressed. Interesting things. Anything you're excited for at horror games coming up. Like whatever. You know. Also, my throat super hurts now for like all the talking.
That's why I keep drinking water.
Yeah, in fact, I'm gonna let you guys like stew on that and and I'm gonna refill my water bottle real quick.
I was like, if we transition this into games, I think I'm gonna have to procure some food. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah, we should talk about the food. Rodrigo and I can have pizza.
Yeah, I'll just make myself a sandwich or something.
Feel bad about that.
Oh no, it's okay. I'll just smell the delicious pizza and not be able to eat it.
Oh no. In the original trailer for Resident Evil 4, there was a ghost enemy with chains that got axed, and apparently
nice.
it's gonna be in the remake, but you're gonna as you can't damn. So interesting. I need to look up this original gameplay footage. Is that what you're doing right now?
No.
Or we're just
this
playing
is-
Resident Evil 4 stuff.
Yeah.
Which I think is like super on topic right now.
Yeah.
Okay, also, like, recent Resident Evil stuff. Did anybody play the new DLC? Don't spoil anything, but, like, I was just curious if
Yes, I
anybody
want to play
played
the
it
new
yet.
Resident Evil Village DLC. In fact, I was planning on buying it. And I forgot it was out. New third person mode for the entire game. So I thought that was interesting.
Oh, yeah,
That
yeah.
you could replay through the whole game in third person. And then it really is just Resident Evil.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm gonna
Yeah, it actually makes even more sense that they made Village to use all those assets for power.
Could, like, doubly use them.
Okay, okay, now we nailed the camera. Let's add it to.
Yeah. Like, less work for us. Can't until John does. You guys gonna race that too?
Oh, are we? Are we gonna race Shadows of Rose? Rodrigo, if you don't know, Dylan and I frequently do speedrun races of Resident Evil games. We just kind of horror
It's like
games
a
and
lot
other
of
games
stuff.
in general.
Did you race the? Because you told me you played Dark Souls, the first one, a randomizer.
Yeah, that was actually with somebody else. That was
Okay.
Leo Boosted. He's from Argentina, and sucks because he's like 6 hours ahead or something like that.
Yeah,
So it's
yeah.
really hard to schedule stuff with him, and I feel bad. He's like up until like 9 a.m. putting stuff together.
He's like super nice.
Yeah,
he's
he
like,
is
yeah, it's
so
fine.
nice.
I'll just stay up all night for you guys.
Yeah.
And we're like, are you sure?
He's actually really cool. He's got like the 3rd place in the world for Toho Luna Night speedrun and stuff like that. He's really cool. He's really nice. And also, if you're interested in doing like races and stuff with us, like Dylan and I are always talking
Sure,
about.
I've never
like,
done it, so yeah, why not?
Yeah.
Sounds fun.
Yeah, we raced Resident Evil 7. We played the shit out of that game until it basically wasn't scary anymore. Every single time. And whenever you start a new run, the opening sequence is so long, and there's no way to skip it. And that's just like really interesting. I think that goes for play value. Like it definitely detracts from the original vision of a horror game. But anyway, let's
Yeah, I
order the
mean, Resident
pizza
Evil
and stuff like
7
that.
until it's not scary. I don't think I'll ever reach that.
Same.
You know, it's been long enough that I could probably play Resident Evil 7 again, and it's probably scary again. It's probably back to being scary. It's been long enough that it will surprise me again. Okay, and I'm gonna start ordering pizza. So you guys can like keep chat busy if you like, or just like shoot
I
the
wasn't
shit or
sure
do
if you
whatever.
were like doing Jackbox on the street or like on Discord or.
Oh yeah,
What
well
was
we
the
can do
plan?
that. Maybe we'll just open it up to. Maybe we'll just do it in the Discord and see who's free. Maybe. What do you think? And then
That's your.
oh no, I'm on the spot.
I'm fine either way. I just
Yeah, either way.
I'm not
Yeah.
like waiting for somebody to bring me food, so like I need to like physically go into the kitchen to make myself some food.
Yeah.
So if you're gonna keep it on the stream, then I will probably dismiss myself.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. This is definitely officially the end of the podcast. You know what? I don't care about anybody else's opinion. I felt like this was fun, so we're gonna do it again.
Yeah, I thought it was fun.
I don't need your
Fun
approval.
too.
I had fun doing it. But yeah, maybe I'll just end the stream now and like just go into Discord in case anybody wants to play like Jackbox or whatever else together. And if we can't get enough people for Jackbox, then maybe we'll play like Played Up or something,
Sure.
or another like game or something like that. All right, sound good, everyone? All right. In that case, I'm gonna start maybe a raid of some kind. Raid. That's if there's anybody alive. Also, thank you, Rodrigo, for doing this.
Oh, thank you,
Thank you,
man. This
Nerdistbeach.
was super fun.
Yeah, I thought it was actually pretty fun too. I'm pretty happy with how it went. I kept thinking like, oh, this is gonna go terribly. I didn't prepare nearly as much as I wanted.
I was super nervous.
Oh yeah, it's super chill.
Because also horror games are not my main. Like you guys are experts in horror games. I like them and everything, but next time we'll do something I'm an expert at, and it will be even more fun for me.
Yeah.
Not that this was
There you
very
go.
fun. It will be just more fun.
Yeah. Wait, don't leave. I just got here. Boosted is live? Is he? Oh hell yeah! Let's raid into King Boosted. So, Tony, if you're interested, I think we're gonna jump in Discord and play games together. All right, this is the guy we were just talking about, Leo Boosted. All right. Raid. Go. Thank you guys for coming. Appreciate you guys coming into the podcast and stuff like that. I have no idea when my next stream will be, so I apologize for that, but I'll post it in my Discord. Okay, thank you everybody. Have a good one. Bye.
Que se toca otro, me viene muy bien para un momento final voz. Una aquí, no sé, que si quieres una aquí, Dios Leo.
So what I did just now is